I'm Summer. I am a vocal coach in the Los Angeles area. It's interesting when you talk about barriers because I feel like it's twofold. Sometimes there's internal barriers for us and feeling like we need to be strong and, need to put on a brave face and just work through things ourselves because we're about that. We're about that grind, and in our community, that's what it is too. There's this stigma of needing to be strong. It's hard for us to seek help. But I think that there's the other side of the barrier where it's not within us, but it's what people put on the community as well. You don't feel comfortable asking for help. So it makes it very hard to speak up about that too, because you're like, okay, well, what is this person going to think about me? Are they going to think that I'm being a lot, being too much? Are they really even going to take me seriously? That's come across in my mind during even my pregnancy or when I'm going through something. And it is interesting because even when I knew something was going on, I was still kind of put in this category, in this box of she probably doesn't know what she's talking about and she's probably overreacting. I think it's twofold. It's one for internally in what we do to ourselves and the standard we set for ourselves, and then also the standard that's placed on us and the expectations that are placed on us. I feel like I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. So at first I was like, maybe it is my age that people are looking at in this situation. Once you get just facts, you know it's about race and not about anything else. And I land in this really funny zone where I'm black and white, right? But my skin appears black, which has always been a weird thing for me. Is you don't know where to categorize me, feels weird. In this specific situation, afterwards, the result of it was pretty obvious that it was race. When I was younger, I didn't let any of it faze me. Whatever situation that I happened to have been in, I internalized it a lot. But as I got older, through age and wisdom, I guess you could say, and just more understanding, I have, confidants that I'll talk to about, any situation that I'm going through. I had to kind of dig up a lot of stuff that happened in my youth. I'm a singer and in the industry for a really long time, and there was a lot of things that were brought up to me in that point too that had to do with race. When I was younger, I did nothing, but now I voice my frustrations or my thoughts on a subject, either with my husband or one of my siblings. I have a really great support system there too. At the end of the day, you're all you're left with. And at the start of every day, you start with yourself. If your mental health isn't in check and isn't in focus, you tend to have really off days sometimes, I think checking in with yourself is a huge thing. And then also being able to be vulnerable enough with yourself, because again, we tend to have this perspective of ourselves where we want to be a certain way. The check-in with yourself is really, really important. Specifically in communities of color, we could have done that. But again, just based on how society views communities of color and how the pressure that we put on ourselves, it's hard to have done that in the past. But I think that there are so many really great resources. We have that ability to be able to step back and just be like, okay, let me sit with myself and figure out where I'm at. And it starts with you. Everything else in your life seems to fall into place once you're good. That's why it's important. I think that it's funny because I feel like I preach mental health on a daily, even being a vocal coach. I think that most physical things are intertwined with your mental, right? So I feel like I talk about that all the time, but I do have to put myself in check a lot. Even being a new mom, a new wife, some of those things in my day-to-day will take precedence over myself, but I am getting a lot better at it. I pray a lot and I talk to God, and that helps so much, as well as writing in my journal or just like typing something out really fast. I love the sound of like the typing. It's like very therapeutic for one, but then I'm getting words out, which is really nice because then they're not stuck in my head. The other thing that I love doing is literally I'll turn on my favorite playlist and I live in an apartment building, but I'll turn that all the way up, and I just sing and let whatever frustration or whatever is going on, it doesn't even need to be a frustration. Maybe I'm just like super happy and like that's just where I'm at in that moment, and I'll just sing. Usually it's to my 9-month-old son who just sits there and kind of rocks with me. That's probably my biggest this is my check-in with myself and me allowing myself to be who I am unapologetically in my own space, and that being okay. Because I think for a second there, that wasn't really something that I was able to do, just doing it for myself. So that feels really great, and that's kind of how I keep in check. I know it's hard, and I'm not you, and nobody else is you. Nobody can really see what's inside your head and what's happening, but I urge you to find someone who can be just an ear for you to lend your voice to. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. Sometimes it can be a voice memo to yourself, letting yourself know what's happening. But in terms of just like getting what's in here out, because being locked in here, that's where anything can happen in there. It's so powerful. Let it out. Find a confidant and hey, just stand on your couch and sing on top of your lungs, because that seems to work for me. So